We like rugged. Rugged is fun. Hey there, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. All of the incredible people who share content across social media and the generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those awesome nerds later in the video. Okay, the folks at RuggON sent this my way to test drive and share some thoughts. The Soul 7 rugged tablet, billed as the first with Arrow Lake processors and built-in AI capabilities. But I just love rugged gear. I have to front load this complaint in every video I do on these products. There's never any public listing on how much something like this might cost. I have to believe that there might be a market for law enforcement, firefighters, military-grade rugged computers, but you have to call or email to have a conversation about how much they might cost. I know that's not the point, in that retail channels can be a pain, but it would be nice. Just a ballpark that we can kind of shop within. Because I know a few folks that would want to rock something like this, but the extra steps to get one are really annoying. But I digress. Not unique to RuggON, but just something I hope more companies will consider. The Soul 7 is a rad little slate. I like rugged devices because they show us the future we could have had if we had not let mass market manufacturers just impress us with thin and glued shut devices. Like, I'm shooting this video and he's like, the box is taking up so much space. I can just move the box. We're just gonna move the box off the table. How about that? A quick hardware tour. The front features a 12-inch 1440p display, and it's one of the brightest that I've yet tested for outdoor work. Little privacy slider on the webcam, and then hardware power buttons for power, home, volume, and some programmable keys that the user can customize. The screen is framed with a lifted bezel that protects it against drops. It means the screen doesn't immediately come into contact with the ground. Left side has a USB-A port. Right side has a pair of USB 3 USB-C ports and a headphone jack. The bottom has a collection of mounts and docking pins. The top has an Ethernet port, and all the ports have covers to maintain water and dust resistance. The rear has another camera and a pair of hot swappable batteries, the absolute best feature on rugged devices. Not only being able to quickly pop out a battery, but now we're often seeing dual cells, so you can swap one without having to shut the machine down. Then under a security screw, we have quick access to the SSD, which has a nice thermal pad and a static pad pre-applied. Then under the battery is a SIM card tray for all of your wireless mobile data. It's all the little attention to details, like we can lock in the SSD with a screw or just leave it accessible with a latch. The batteries can actually be locked in too, depending on how you want to deploy this. There are multiple mount and dock points to attach this to other frames. And the only nitpick I have for the build, I wish the port covers had more of a locking action on them themselves. They seal, but it's kind of a passive action when you squish it in. If you don't squish it in all the way, you might be compromising the water and dust durability. It's a bit of a chunky boy, but to give a little perspective, it's only about 10 ounces heavier than my OnePlus pad with the keyboard blade, and it's about 28 ounces lighter than my G-Tac convertible laptop. It's big, but it's a bit more reasonable than you think it might be for how thick it is, and the thickness actually kind of helps. It makes it easier to hold, and with all four corners, we have hard points to connect straps if you want to carry this sort of just on a sling. And without being too repetitive here, I just want to crank this up. The screen is kind of incredible. It's fantastically bright. This is really easy to read outdoors. And for all the consumer tech brands that make these crazy claims like 5,000 nit brightness on a phone, something like this just kind of shames our consumer gear when we're out dealing with sunlight. Go ahead and turn it down a bit just for the remainder of this video and not to nuke the battery. Talking about performance, and we're in pretty good shape here too. This has a Core Ultra 5 225U, really solid, and with better power draw for mobile use. For a lot of military or first responder grade gear, we kind of got stuck on Intel 12th gen for a lot longer than I thought we would. Against my G-Tac, for example, the fan does not spin up as aggressively, and I can last a lot longer in between charges or battery swaps. That's really the big win for this slate. The practical computing experience is better, and you can use it longer, which matters when a big chunk of battery will be eaten up by that high brightness from the screen. We're not as concerned about GPU performance or gaming specs here. It's not really built for that, especially taking a U-series chip into consideration, but there is another version of this with a Core Ultra 7 that will probably bring a bit more GPU compute to the table. I have to admit, one of the biggest claims here, the built-in AI performance is likely the least impactful part of this slate right now, especially considering the target markets like warehouse management, military, law enforcement, first responders, public works, who in those spaces is building NPU-ready on-device AI apps. It's enough to get an IT department on board a new PC. I'm not sure local AI compute is making a big impact in these markets right now. I think it's going to matter a bit more that the machine is more powerful in traditional compute tasks, and it's getting better battery while running cooler and quieter than 3 or 4 generation old Intel parts. It's such a stinking cool little machine, and it's built with a lot of confidence. If the chip is drawing less power, the battery swap is also less disruptive. On some of the older machines that I reviewed, sometimes you'd have this crazy screen dim when one cell was pulled out. The RuggON seems capable with only one cell in that it doesn't throttle the whole experience mid-swap. And there's this nice little control panel for accessing features on the tablet quickly. Now, a lot of this is in your Windows settings, of course, but if you need to quickly or easily switch power plans, adjust volume or brightness, check battery life or charging, it's nice to have all of that grouped like this. Big buttons and sliders, a bit more friendly if your work requires gloves or you need to use a stylus. Windows in general is okay with finger gestures and swipes, but I kind of wish we had the more deliberate tablet modes from Windows 8 and Windows 10. I can do everything I need to do in Windows 11 with fingers and gestures and typing on virtual keyboards, but Windows 11 just seems to require mouse and keyboard if you're really wanting that more sort of laptop style experience. The tablet side of this I don't feel has evolved as much as I really would have hoped it would. But that's a Microsoft thing. There are just so many good ideas on rugged gadgets, on the hardware, if it's the corporate or government side. The RuggON is a brutal piece of hardware that competes very well with the Panasonic and Getac systems I've used in the past. Again, if you're considering deploying gear, I think this is absolutely worth a look when you're checking out your budget or you might need to cycle out some older systems. For consumers, it's really a shame we gave up on a lot of this stuff. The expansion, modular design. I'm not saying everything should be built to this degree, but I think laptops were genuinely better when the user could pop out a battery on their own with a simple latch. We could build more devices around similar ideas, and these would be mass market consumer benefits. So of course, I would like to hear from you. Is there something here you'd like to have on your next tablet or laptop? Is there a feature you'd like to see come back to mainstream devices? Drop me some of the tasty hot takes in the comments down below. I love digging into these things, and the folks who get to see the results of my testing and reviewing first are, of course, my incredible patrons, all of the people over on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of names scrolling by on your screen right now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, as these are the folks that are helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They get all my videos in 4K, some of them get early access, the private Discord, production diaries, behind the scenes, and it's through interaction and conversation on the Patreon, it really helps guide what I like to do on my channel, what kind of videos and editorials I'm going to be producing next. They're basically the coolest tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. I hope you'll consider joining the community at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere, but these days, I'm spending a bit more time on the Mastodons, a little on the Blueskis, but not as much as I used to, and a lot less so on the Facebooks, Threads, Instagrams, and none at all on that dumpster fire site. And I will catch you all on the next review.